God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring. Both of these games are amazing, and yet the fanbase on both sides have been at each other's throats for months. Why? Well, the answer's a little complicated. For context, let's go back to the beginning. Demon's Souls was released in 2009 and was a breath of fresh air for gamers who were tired of the same recycled titles and genres. Demon's Souls took an approach to storytelling that wasn't really mainstream at the time, which was that it told most of its tale through environments, item descriptions, and stuff like that. It didn't blow up to what it is now instantly, though, but over time, it definitely became something that no one expected it to at release. It went from a cult following to being the game to play if you were a hardcore gamer. Players really loved the challenge, as it was something that really wasn't all that prevalent at the time. Soon after Demon's Souls took the world by storm, there were sequels that were critically acclaimed by millions of gamers, and eventually, the formula that Demon's Souls had created became a genre in itself. Souls-like games started popping up like weeds, and this became the preferred genre for many people. And inevitably, there were some people who began to take the Soulsborne games a little too seriously. People basically began to believe that this was like the best way to structure a game because it didn't, in quotes, hold your hand. But before the Soulsborne games were even a thought in good old Miyazaki's mind, there was God of War. God of War was released in March of 2005 and became almost an instant hit. It pushed the boundaries of gaming in many ways, much like the Soulsborne games would do later on. The sheer amount of violence-filled action alone had gamers absolutely foaming at the mouth. But on top of this, God of War also had a very interesting and unique story. It tackled mythology in a way that hadn't really been done in the gaming medium at the time, and was probably how a lot of younger gamers learned about Greek mythology, if we're being honest. God of War exploded in popularity and basically became the equivalent of Mario for PlayStation. Sorry, Crash. By the time Demon's Souls came around, God of War already had 3 games under its belt. Well, I mean 4 if you count the mobile game. God of War 3 was also right around the corner at the time and was being built up as the climatic finale to the trilogy. The hype for God of War was at an all-time high, and while Demon's Souls was slowly building in popularity, the two games were on completely different wavelengths at that point. If you had tried to compare God of War 3 to Demon's Souls in 2010, you probably would have been laughed out of the room. So, why are the fanbases of Elden Ring and God of War at such odds right now? Well, for starters, they're both amazing games. They've evolved beyond what anyone could have possibly imagined in the 2000s, so much so that it's really hard to find any major gripes with either of the titles. As of late, God of War has become much more focused around the narrative side of things, taking cues from other games like The Last of Us. It still keeps true to its origin though, and is still action-heavy beyond belief, but the story definitely plays a heavy part in driving the gameplay forward. Now, is that a bad thing? Of course not, but I can't lie and say that most of what pushes me to play more is the vast amount of emotion and tension that's involved in the narrative of God of War. I would go as far as to say that most of the people playing God of War are original fans who have been with the series since the start. The story of Kratos is one a lot of us have grown up with, and Sony Santa Monica definitely knows that. That's what most of us are here for. Elden Ring, on the other hand, tells a story in the same way Demon's Souls did all the way back in 2009, through various item descriptions, cryptic dialogue, and environments that tell you more than most NPCs and other titles will. If you're willing to put in the work to get a grasp on the story of Elden Ring, you can. The gameplay has seen some major improvements, but sticks closer to its roots more than God of War does. It's a perfect example of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But here's where the fans are butting heads. The big argument at the moment is that God of War is more of a movie than a game, and that the story is, in quotes, spoon-fed to you, while the other side of the fence argues that Elden Ring doesn't have a coherent story to begin with. The catalyst for this argument is almost certainly the Game Awards, which is actually tomorrow. At the moment, tension is at an all-time high, with fanbases at each other's throats over what game deserves the Game of the Year award. But does this argument really even make sense? Well, no. This is like comparing SpongeBob to Family Guy, and saying SpongeBob is inherently better because it doesn't spoon-feed its adult humor to you. It's really a senseless debate. They're two completely different games that both have their own identity. And, you know, they're both amazing titles in their own right. The games have their fanbases for a reason. So when tomorrow comes and the Game of the Year is decided, keep in mind what led to that decision. The winner is decided based on the opinion of a select few people. At the end of the day, the real Game of the Year is what you decide is worthy. That's really what matters. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for today. Let me know if you guys enjoy these types of videos, because I'm still just kind of experimenting with it, but I'd love to make more in the future. Before you go, be sure to let me know what you think should be the Game of the Year in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.